Hello and welcome to the Varietal Show. If you've never been here before, my name is Rory, and you are watching a show where we play sort of solo tabletop RPGs. It's a write-along stream where you can write your own stuff or put your own recommendations in the live chat if you are here live. And we just sort of try to write an intro to a story or develop a bit of a character or something. It's just a live write-along for about an hour. And yeah. That's about it. If you came here for on the folklore streams, this isn't really a folklore stream, although today I do plan to inject a bit of that because we're talking about shepherds and they are a common subject in folklore. But for the most part, this is just fun writing. So if you enjoy writing or you enjoy being a part of that, you found the right stream. Other than that, I'll be back on Tuesday with the folklore streams if that's all you're here for. That said, if you are watching this and you go, I just want to know how the story turns out, or I want to get to the description or whatever else, down in the description below, there will be timestamps. Obviously, not when it's live, but after it's live. And if you want to play this game yourself, it is free, and it will be a pinned comment. You can find it on itch.io, or itch.io, as the kids say. But if you are here live, you can join in the live chat, and I see GS is already there. Good evening, GS. We are carrying on with our summer of low attendance. And if you don't know, getting people to tune in the summer on YouTube is, well, very challenging. So as a result, it's been a freeing moment where I get to play a bunch of games that I'm not sure would have ever gotten much traction anyways. And this is one of them. So let me tell you about it. This part of the show is called litgames. Litgames stands for literature games. It is, you can also call them lyric games or solo tabletop RPGs or solo journaling games or whatever else. There's a bunch of different names for them, but they're basically prompt structures for some sort of creative writing. And in the case of this stream, we are going to be looking at a game that is based on a game we've played before, which I'll take a minute and explain that because I'm not sure everybody knows how the indie RPG scene works, and maybe you'll find that interesting. But if not, remember there's timestamps down in the description below. So this is called Alone Among the Sheep, but it is, as you can see, if you're looking at the screen or if you're fully sighted enough to see it, it says a hack of Takuma Okada's Alone Among the Stars. Now, we've played Alone Among the Stars before, so I won't spend too much time explaining this, because we also played a hack of Alone Among the Stars before, which was What Lies Beneath or something like that. It was about diving into deep water. We did a story about that one. Alone Among the Stars, its system basically involves you taking a deck of regular cards, and as you go somewhere in the game, in your imagination, you draw a card, and based on the suit and the number of the card, you get prompts. And based on those prompts, you develop some sort of scenario of something that happened that day or that week or whatever you're saying how frequent your journal entries are. There really isn't much more to it than that. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I have explained these before. What I will say is some of the stuff I'm going to add to it to make it a little bit more, well, my flavor. So One thing I do find interesting about this game, I'll just say as an aside here because I'm not going to engage it too much, is it gives you background on like how shepherding works. If you need sort of ideas, and gives you some ideas about like what you should be thinking about. It does presume that we have some herding dogs, of course. Okay. Well, that reminds me. Yeah, you also need a D6 dice, but we'll come to that in a minute. But I just want to show you how the cards work. So when you draw a card, you roll a D6. And that D6 tells you a little bit about what it was like to get to whatever the card is going to describe. And the card can be old ruins or whatever else. But the suits here, you can see, for example, diamonds are animals. Wolves, coyotes. It gives you a couple of other ideas. Clubs are food sources. Hearts are ruins. Spades are natural phenomenon. And so then the idea is you use your own imagination. But if I pulled the top card here, it's diamonds. Diamonds are animals. So we might say, okay, well, there's a wolf walking around the edge. You know, I'm journaling is the conceit of the game. There's a wolf walking around our flock of sheep. And it was a 5. So it says, some of the locations listed below offer interesting challenges for sheep herding. So what you can do is use the number on the card, for example, stuck in a tree or whatever else. So we can say, well, you know, I'm trying to get the sheep away from a wolf that's hunting, but one of them got stuck in a tree because I got a 5 and that was the prompt. They're pretty open because the idea is ultimately a writing game. They're just prompts. So I don't think I need to say much more than that. The D6 will just tell us whether it's difficult to reach, basically how we encountered it. Whether you encounter it suddenly or you just noticed it during the day. And yeah, that's the game. So we're going to talk about shepherds, but I'm going to tell you what I'm going to add to it. I have here what's called a D2, which you might know as a coin. If I didn't lose it. There it is. You might just know as a coin. They sell these. They're really just coins. But anyways, if it's 1, I'm going to add the element. So each time we do an event, I'm going to add the element that means one of the sheep is either dead or in danger. Just because that's realistic for shepherding and there isn't really an element for this. But if it's this little dude here, which is the other side of the dice, what I'm going to say is that we get signs, symbols, or a visit from what are called the good people. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's a lot of stories about elves and fairies and leprechauns and whatever else wrap themselves around shepherds, because traditionally shepherds were alone for a very long time, almost their entire life, wandering around with sheep, getting paid almost nothing, out in the middle of fields, all hours of the night they had to sleep with the sheep. And as a result, a lot of stories kind of wrap around them because they're a bit of an enigma to common culture at the time. It's not so much the case anymore, but for that reason, because I want us to have some supernatural elements here, I'm adding in that little coin flip. Okay, well, hopefully that makes sense for people. Which means I need to do my first entry. Actually, I'm going to maybe turn the music down a bit. And just to be clear, if you are out there in the land and you want to join in the chat, I'll really appreciate it. But I will say I do know that summer is a lot of just me playing this. Okay. So the way that you start the game is you roll a d6 and you pull that many cards. So we're going to roll a d6. It's a 3. Which means I'm going to draw 3 cards, but I'm not going to look at what they are. Now the rules in this one doesn't say you don't look at them, but I believe in Takuma's Okada's version you don't. because obviously you don't want to know ahead of time. Because I have enough of them, I'm actually going to roll my 3 d6s ahead of time and place them on the cards. So the first one is a 2. Next one is a 3. The last one is a 6. And we're all set. I wish I could show you. Now, I am going to flip this, which I'm certainly going to screw up. I'm not good at this. I always lose these things. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay. So we get some supernatural life on our first one. But we don't know what the card is yet. So let's introduce our character. As per usual, chat, if you want. I mean, otherwise I'll use a generator. Give me a name and some basic facts or basic description. So, man, woman, non-binary. Is it, what's their name? Are they tall, broad-shouldered, and rough? Are they weird and esoteric? Are they nervous and quiet? What kind of features do we want to embody with our shepherd? Also, we will have dogs. I'll say 2 dogs. I guess they should be border collies, but in my heart, I kind of like Australian blue heelers, which are also herding dogs. So I'm going to say we have 2 Australian blue heelers. And if you want to say something about their names or their personalities, I'll put that in as well. Okay, GS says musical and shy. Musical. Yeah, we'll say enjoys playing hand-whittled flutes. Why is that the word I couldn't think of? Enjoys playing hand-whittled flutes. Shy. And avoids most people and their conversations. Probably eye contact too, I think. But I'm not going to put that there. Okay, and I didn't get a name, so I'm going to use the name generator, which you guys can't see. I'm sorry. By the way, whoever out there has created name generators, you should set up a Patreon or something so writers can thank you, because my God. Do you have any idea how much... You know what? Shepherds are usually male, so I'm going to make this female. Watch me forget halfway through, because I very often write men. From the perspective of men, not for any other reason other than it's just obviously easier for me to involve my brain into that perspective. GS says healers, one is a barker and reacts before thinking, the other's more cautious with a sheep, quiet and stealthy. I like it. Give me some names. I seem to recall you talking about your love of dogs, GS. Catalin Monroe. Does that sound good? Bella York. Bella York is a great name, but it's a little high society. Mm-hmm. We're going to go with Catalin Monroe. or Katie. A barker that is impulsive. It is nice to be here. I mean, I know, small crowd, niche corner of the YouTube, but if you guys watch this, I just want you to know that this is one of my favorite things to do in the week. And I'm really happy that other people, doesn't matter that it's only like a few dozen most of the time, enjoy it as well. I am once again enjoying my generic silver can drink. Flanagan for the impulsive one. This is for the dogs. Flanagan. I realize this makes no sense because I think that's 2 Irish names now, and I'm writing about an Aussie dog, but whatever. This doesn't need to make that much sense. And Kriya for the stealth. Kriya, a stealthy and tactical hound. Quite perceptive. And of course, they're Australian blue healers, which means they're incredibly friendly, but ridiculously energetic. See, I at one point wanted Australian blue healers, but I live in suburbs, and there's just nothing I could do to keep a dog like that happy. And I do think that's a thing people need to think about. Like, I don't want to drill a point too directly, but for me, when I look online and I see someone has taken, let's say, a dog that was designed for the far north close to the Arctic Circle, and they have it in their, like, California house, I gotta wonder what your thinking is there. You know, and they're like, oh, we have to put ice packs on him like 8 months of the year. That might be a sign that he's not in a good place. GS says, I'm drinking a premium ginger beer. I can't really eat ginger anymore, but I do like it. Okay. I think we have our pieces together. Katie is our shepherd. Journal 1. Our dogs are Flanagan and Kriya. And our prompts are 2 on the dice, so it will be difficult to reach. Whatever it is. I haven't flipped the card yet. And of course, this is a role-playing game. Like, as much as these are like writing games, they are about sort of putting yourself in a perspective. Like, they're there to help your imagination. And what I want to make clear is that, like, part of it is sort of, do you want to feel what it's like to be a shepherd out in the middle of nowhere with your sheep? GS says, healers are consummate workaholics. Yes, they are. And when you have nothing to do, they just go crazy. Which is true of a lot of, like, shepherding breeds that were made for that. Okay, it's a 6 of clubs. I haven't looked at these, really. So, the clubs are food sources for you and your animal. Mostly plants, but also fresh water, fish, or other forage foods. So, if you don't know, one of the reasons shepherds travel around, one of, not the only, is to find other pastures, because otherwise sheep just basically bald the ground. And in this case, we're supposedly watching 1,000 sheep, which doesn't sound like a one-man job, or in this case, a one-woman job. Food source. So, clubs. We find a food source, but that could be any kind of food source. It could even be water. So, you know, chat, that's where you can throw your ideas in if you want. And it is a 6, so I'm going to look at our little thing here. At the peak of a mountain. I'm going to say that's a maybe, but it's not a bad idea. Okay, so the prompts are, we got a 2 on the dice, which told us that it will be difficult to reach, but that fits with the peak of the mountain thing. My added little element, no sheep are going to be hurt, but we're going to find either some evidence or get sort of a visit from one of the good people, which again is sort of fae fairies, things like that. Good people is an Irish sort of Celtic term for them. And we got a 6 of clubs. GS says a patch of gooseberries. Oh, I love gooseberries. They are like this rare thing here. I don't know exactly where they're wild, but wherever they are, God bless them. All right. I don't have a voice in mind yet for Katie, so I'll be curious to see what I come up with. I do feel like, you know, it's good to be a little stern and practical. Like, but, you know, of course, stern and practical doesn't always make for interesting storytelling, so we'll see. It's been a long haul for the last 30 or so hours. 30. We'll see if the Irish accent comes out. I'll try not to. For all of our sakes. I left Macmillan's farm just shy of dawn a day prior because I wanted to be on the waning side. Not waning, it's a moon term. Be on a declining, I guess? Be on the downslope of the mountains before nightfall. She has dreadlocks. Oh, good call. By the way, because I'm sure somebody doesn't know this, I think most people do. Well, dreadlocks are associated to very particular cultures these days. Historically, dreadlocks were extremely common because, you know, if you lived in a place that didn't have a lot of hair care, you usually braid your hair. Even I braid my hair. Because if you don't, I mean, I'm Norwegian and I have, well, at least I'm part Norwegian, about half Norwegian. And I have this really fine, feathery blonde hair that if I don't, here's a fun fact. Well, it's fun to me. They used to, Norwegian men were famous for their grooming to the extent that there are letters of Englishmen and stuff like that feeling as if their grooming was like an attack on them and they were going to steal their woman. That is not a lie. You can find that record of that letter online from like the 17th century. But I think actually the reason why that reputation came with people of my ancestry is because this hair, and I know this because other people in my family have the same problem. If I don't brush it, it turns into basically dreadlocks within like 3 hours. Like I have to brush my hair like 5 times a day. And I've discovered that in Norwegian lore, there is a thing that if you go to bed, you can wake up with knots in your hair. And they called them elf knots or elf locks because the story was elves came in the night and knotted up your hair, which I think is fun. But anyways, anyone with this kind of hair knows that it's a necessity that you sort of keep it braided or whatever else. And of course, if you keep it braided long enough, eventually it turns into a dreadlock effectively, is my point. Modern dreadlocks are obviously a more complex equation, but in the past, that's what it was. Okay, so I left Macmillan's farm just shy of dawn a day prior because I wanted to be on the downslope of the mountains before nightfall on the second day. We found that what is it? Unfortunately, Flanagan. Is that the barker? Put it on UGS to remind me of these dogs. Unfortunately, Flanagan went off and spooked. Oh, I've heard that's not the best word to use. So, went off and startled a good 100 or so of the heads of the... don't get fancy, Rory. So, of the sheep. Startled a good 100 or so of the sheep off into some glen. Well away from the main trail. It put me well behind. And now I must break camp. Wait, is break camp is leaving camp. GS says perfect. Sounds exactly like Flanagan. Yeah, that's when you're leaving. Okay, I'm just making sure. Now I must lay or settle for the night, let's say. On the windy side of the eastern peaks. I don't have a name for them. If you want to name the mountains, go right ahead. Let me know. Oh, I'm a little low, aren't I? There we go. It wasn't all for naught, though. I'm gonna pick a different playlist. Which one? Which one am I feeling? No, that's my space one. Let's just go to the beach. I have a beach one. That's my beach one. I play this one often. It wasn't all for naught, though. The glen that Flanagan found with the stray sheep was a lovely bed of wildflowers. Creeping up, right up to the shale down from the high peaks. I found some lavender for tea. A bit of wild garlic. And a good bundle of wild mountain thyme. Which bonus points if you get that reference. Because that is my favorite Corey song. It's also known as Will You Go, Lassie Go. Will you go, lassie, go? Then we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Anyways, a good bundle of wild mountain thyme. I was so enraptured Oh, there's some great ideas coming out of you, GS. Let me get this thought out, and I'll start including them more. I was so enraptured by the by the treasure trove of herbs. I barely noticed that I had tread into a fairy circle. Good Lord Almighty. I startled when I saw that and bounded right out. Tripping on my beat old hikers. And tearing loose my laces. I didn't see anything come out, nor any will-o-wisps following me up the switchback when dusk had settled. But I can't shake the feeling I've caught the attention of the good folk. Anyhow, I wrapped my time in that glen of plenty. By telling Kia, the most sensible of the two hounds, out! Go round! And she drew in the strays back to the larger flock. Oh, that's a good one, GS. I fear I hear a giggle. I had to pull up some strong vines to set my shoes back in order. But otherwise, we have tread on, and now must camp at the high altitude. I hope the eagles leave the babes alone. Also, I may be talking myself into nonsense, but I swear I hear giggles on the wind. Been making the signs of the cross whenever I do. Hopefully, that helps something. Okay, there's our first night. I think there's a lot of intrigue in that. I like that. Entry 2, I forgot what I called these. Is it just entries? Journal 1, Journal 2, okay. Why don't we keep it consistent? I don't know what it is about the Alone Among the Whatever games, but there is something about them that really works. And I've seen other systems that sort of take a lot of cues and they do a very similar thing, but I never find it works as well. GS full of ideas tonight. Okay. So our next card, I'm going to flip the coin again, which is the comedy for tonight. Can a grown man catch a coin? Ooh. We're going to lose a sheep. We rolled a 3. So prompts. Lose a sheep. We rolled a 3, which means you encounter whatever we encounter suddenly. Well, these things seem to be falling together. And it's an 8 of diamonds. Diamonds are animals. Oh, well, I mean, this... You know, sometimes I fear that people think I just set this up. I mean, I don't think the writing quality that I put out is so good that people wouldn't believe that I'm writing it live. But, I don't. By the way, I don't. I would be bored. I've got nothing to prove about this. But getting those prompts together, an animal that suddenly appears and we lose a sheep, and like it feels like I've set it up. It's so it fits together so well. What's the 8? Near a group of about 100 sheep that broke off from the flock. I genuinely didn't read that before. I picked 100 out of my head. I don't know if I want to use that now because I kind of already used it. We'll just say that some broke off from the flock. An animal where sheep have broken off. Okay. Let me get some water. Think about what we want to do here. When it comes to water, the only water I drink is Silver Can brand water. For those who don't know, I don't like brands. I am well aware you all know what it is. Well, I suppose also, I guess maybe you don't, because some particularly bad beers also come in silver cans. I don't drink anymore, so it's not alcoholic. Oh, GS, you're writing the story for me. Okay. GS says maybe the fairies lured away to be pesky, but then changed their mind because obviously we got the prompt on an animal, which is an animal takes it away, and then the fairies can help for a price. Oh, now we're cooking. The only good thing I can say about this day was we made it down away from the dreadful winds. What is it? The lee side? What is the side that is windy on a mountain? There's a name for it. I used to do, like, mountaineering. I should know this. It's leeward and windward. Why would I remember leeward and not windward? That is the worst moment of my career. I'm deleting this video. So dumb. The only good thing I can say about this day was we made it down the leeward side away from the dreadful winds on the windward slope where we had spent the night. The wind's made for a broken sleep, but likely kept the raptors in their nests for the night. I was feeling good getting past the mountains when what animal? I don't think it should be a wolf, because wolves are going to imply a pack, and that feels like too much. Maybe a mountain lion, like a cougar. Definitely scarier. I mean, not that wolves aren't scary, especially apparently European wolves. So I live in North America, and I've heard that our wolves are quite a bit less terrifying. Because wolves aren't really a big fear here. Our biggest fear is like cougars for the most part. We have bears, but I don't know. Bears are goofs. Yes, bears can do stuff, but for the most part, if you're sensible, bears are nothing. I've seen so many bears and they just run away. Cougars, though, follow you for days. I was feeling good getting past the mountains. When Flanagan and Kia let up an alarm. I pulled my rifle and ran in their direction. A cougar was dragging... I wish I knew some sheep terms. Is there like a term for like a girl sheep and a boy sheep or whatever else? Like, I feel like that would help this character feel a little more real if she was like a buck or something, rather than just another me saying sheep again. She was dragging off one of the bigger boys that was leading the back of the herd. He was putting up a good fight. And I let off a rifle shot into the air. It startled him. You? But is you, just another name for sheep, or is there some sort of technical specification in there? I let off a rifle shot into the air. It startled them both. And they ran, one behind the other, into the woods. I'd yet to lose a head of sheep in 6 years. And I did not intend to begin that day. Oh, it's a girl. Oh. I did not know that. I chased after, following the blood on the leaves, and found a mighty strange sight. The forest broke way to a perfectly round bed of emerald moss Upon it sat the bleeding... Okay, we're making it a girl so I can say you there. One of the bigger girls. But nearby, there was the cougar. Its lips stained by her hunt. Except the beast was well and truly asleep. I crept carefully keeping my rifle upon it. When a voice chuckled from the undergrowth. Oh, it should be a rhyme. GS has given me more names. Gimmers are more specific, unbred female over a year. Wow, imagine needing a term that specific. Hogget says British term for unshorn yearling sheep. Yearling meaning they're only a year old? I've seen the term yearling, but I've never really thought about it, to be honest. But you already know that a ram is male. I already know that rams exist. Did I know it was a male sheep? Not really, actually. There are some things I know just so much about, and there are some things that shockingly I know nothing about. I am, for example, pretty bad at geography. I, m'lady, step no further. The beast sleeps lighter? That doesn't really rhyme. I'm a lady, step no further. The beast sleeps a bit more light. A bit lighter? I feel like there needs to be one more beat there. I'm a lady. Lady. 3. That's why I don't do poetry. It's not fun to watch a person write poetry. Or in this case, just rhymes. 7. The beast. The beast sleeps a bit lighter. Okay. And that old boy is quite a fighter. It's too much. How about, and there lies quite a fighter. I'm a lady, step no further. The beast sleeps a bit lighter, and there lies quite a fighter. I paused and said, "Who speaks in strange rhythms? I'm merely a shepherd, wishing to pass through." I knew it must have been one of the good folk. hiding with the powers a Fae is known to have. It was a tense exchange, for it knew it had what I wanted. Oh my god, I've done it now. This is the rest of the stream, just watching a man write subpar rhymes. Why did I make it rhyme? Now it's no. Passing through or passing on. This isn't off to a good start. Passing through, passing on. What can you do? I don't know what rhymes with on. I might have to give up on this rhyme. Passing through, passing on. What can you do? For this would be a little bit of cheating, but passing through, passing on. Wait, passing through or passing. Oh, that does need the or. Passing through or passing on. What can you do for Keteron? GS says they're fascinated by my flute. That's an entire possibility. I was told since I was here, we're gonna go full North American understanding of Celtic culture. Call her a lass. I was told since I was a wee lass. It should be wee lass. I can't bring myself to say wee because it is a bit too much for somebody who doesn't normally say wee. I was told since I was a small lass never to change words more than is necessary with the Fae. They seek neither good nor bad, but you cannot trust them. For much the same. For that reason alone. I could play ye a song. A hymn said to free the shackled. Gia says that could be the prize they won as a reward for helping. Sorry, what could be? We could play a song, Spirit. A hymn said to free the shackled of the binds of the low realms. I bartered with my song and pulled the whittled flute from my pocket. There was a chitter of little voices, perhaps expressing awe at my humble flute. The bark of a nearby tree slipped slightly open, and a small hand clad in gemstone rings reached out, saying, "A good Christian flute is surely a charm I cannot make." This should rhyme, but I kind of don't know if I can make it rhyme. Surely a charm I cannot make. So give me that, and ye and your sheep can break. Can down and away break. This doesn't work at all. Why did I do that? Why did I make rhymes? A good Christian flute. A charm we cannot make. I'll give you back your sheep. If Cataron can give it a toot. Oh, that's a good one. GS, so give me that, or you shall take. In case anybody ever wonders, there are games that I could play that involve you making poetry. Charm we cannot make. That's 5. A good Christian flute. So give me that. Or give it. Or you shall take. Let me have a toot. Give it or you shall take. I'll do the old cheat. They do that in poetry, really. Let me, not so much modern, but let me have a toot. This is a terrible rhyme. I just want us to know we should all be ashamed. A good Christian flute, a charm we cannot make. Give it or you'll take. Let me give it, let me give it a toot? I'll give it a toot. All right, moving on. So I said that the sheep must wander, must reach my flock. Then I'll hand over my flute, stung with songs of holy sorts. With a snap of its fingers and a jingle of its silver bracelets, the hand in the tree charmed my ewe into running back towards Finnegan. Oof. And what was the name of the other dog? Kea. Okay. Who yelped their confirmation. The old girl was back. I left the flute upon a stone, for I was told to never hand a thing directly to one of the Fae, for then they'd rule you for 7 days. This was obviously the spirit's intention, since it raged and spittled and spit, that I must hand it to them. But alas, I left it on the stone and refused. Now I'm resting again. And I swear, I still hear giggling on the wind. Okay. That went by pretty fast, actually. I'm curious what the last one was, because I'm not going to do it, but the last one, let's just see what it would have been. Flip this thing. Maybe you out there can finish the story if you want. Would have been another appearance of the Fae, although we kind of put that in this one anyways. It was a 6, which means that you notice it, well, stop to let the sheep graze. And it is a 6 of diamonds, which is another animal. And at the peak of a mountain. So it would have been repetitive anyways. Okay. Well, let's hear the whole story back. Do people like jazz? I love jazz, but like I know that, I mean, admittedly, there's a great deal of variation in jazz, and I will definitely say there is a certain form of extremely mainstream jazz I'm not huge on, especially sort of modern stuff that kind of borders on soft rock. You know, soft rock is fine, it's just not my thing. But, for example, I have some old jazz records I really like. I think my 2 favorite jazz records are Jimmy Smith's The Sermon, and well, this is very uncreative, but Coltrane's, I'm forgetting the name and I shouldn't because it's just his legendary album. Love Supreme. Those are my current two favorite jazz albums, and they have been for a while. So you get a sense of like where I'm at. Okay. Let's read the story back. We played a game today called Alone Among the Sheep, and if you're jumping to this section, it's because you just want to hear the story we came up with. Now, Alone Among the Sheep is a free game. If you check the pinned comment, you can go and download it yourself. It is a hack of Takuma Okada's Alone Among the Stars, which we've played on this before, which uses basically a prompt structure to give you prompts for each day, and you make a journal entry. We got through 2 journal entries, and I'm going to tell you briefly about the character involved, because not all the introduction is done in the writing. And then we'll tell you a little story about the sheep herder and their encounters with the Fae. So the name was Caitlin Monroe, or Katie, which literally never came up. The basic description was they enjoy playing hand-whittled flutes. I wish I'd included more of that. Shy and avoids most people and their conversations. That, again, never really came up. She has 2 dogs that helps her herd. It was the 2 Australian blue heelers. The first one was named Flanagan, who's a barker that is quite impulsive, and the second is Kriya. Oh, it's Kriya. I put Kea in the story. A stealthy and tactical hound, quite perceptive. Journal entry 1. It's been a long haul for the last 30 or so hours. I left McMillan's farm just shy of dawn a day prior, and I wanted to be on the downslope of the mountains before nightfall on the second day. Unfortunately, Flanagan went off and startled a good 100 or so of the sheep, well off into some glen well away from the main trail. And it put me well behind, and now I must settle for the night on the windy side of the eastern peaks. Say windward. It wasn't all for naught, though. The glen that Flanagan found with the stray sheep was a lovely bed of wildflowers creeping right to the shale down from the high peaks. I found some lavender for a tea, a bit of wild garlic, and a good bundle of wild mountain thyme. I was so enraptured by the treasure trove of herbs, I barely noticed that I'd tread into a fairy circle. Good Lord Almighty, I startled when I saw that and bounded right out, tripping on my beat old hikers and tearing loose their laces. I didn't see anything come out, nor any will-o-wisps following me up the switchback when the dusk settled, but I can't shake the feeling I've caught the attention of the good folk. Anyhow, I wrapped my time in that glen of plenty by telling Kriya, the most sensible of the 2 hounds, "Out! Go round!" And she drew in the strays back to the larger flock. I had to pull up some strong vines to set my shoes back in order, but otherwise we have tread on and must camp at the high altitude. I hope the eagles leave the babes alone. Also, I may be talking myself into nonsense, but I swear I hear giggles on the wind. Been making the sign of the cross whenever I do. Hopefully, that helps something. Journal entry 2. The only good thing I can say about the stay was we made it down the leeward side away from the dreadful winds on the windward slope where we'd just spent the night. The winds made for a broken sleep had likely kept the raptors in the nests for the night, and likely kept... But works there too. I was feeling good getting past the mountains when Flanagan and Kia let up an alarm. I pulled my rifle and ran in their direction. Found a cougar dragging off one of the bigger girls that was leading the back of the herd. He was putting up a good fight. She was putting up a good fight. And I let off a rifle shot into the air. It startled them both, and they ran one behind the other into the woods. I'd yet to lose a head of sheep in 6 years, and I did not intend to begin that day. I chased after, following the blood on the leaves, and found a mighty strange sight. The forest broke way to a perfectly round, I meant to say, bed of emerald moss. Upon it sat the bleeding ewe, but nearby there was the cougar, its lips stained by the hunt. Except the beast was well and truly asleep. So I crept carefully, keeping my rifle upon it, when a voice chuckled from the undergrowth. "Aye, my lady, step no further. The beast sleeps a bit lighter, and there lies quite a fighter." I paused and said, "Who speaks in strange rhythms? I'm merely a shepherd wishing to pass through." I knew it must have been one of the good folk hiding with the powers a fae is known to have. It was a tense exchange, for it knew it had what I wanted. And that's a position no mortal wants to be in. "Passing through or passing on, what can you do for Keteron?" I was told since I was a small lass never to change words more than is necessary with the fae. They seek neither good nor bad, but you cannot trust them for that reason alone. "I could play ye a song, spirit, a hymn said to free the shackled of the binds of the low realms." I bartered with my song and pulled a whittled flute from my pocket. There was a chitter of a little voice, perhaps expressing awe. I meant to say little voices. Perhaps expressing awe at my humble flute. The bark of a nearby tree slipped slightly open, and a small hand clad in gemstones and rings reached out, saying, and this is the worst rhyme in the story, so I apologize ahead of time. "A good Christian flute, a charm we cannot make. Give it our will, or ill take it. I'll give it a toot." That turned into like leprechaun Irish. I apologize. That was not the first voice. So I said that the sheep must reach my flock. The injured sheep must reach my flock. Then I'll hand over my flute, stung with the songs of holy sorts. With a snap of its little fingers and a jingle of its silver bracelets, the hand in the tree charmed my ewe into running back towards Finnegan and Crea, who yelped to tell me the old girl was back. I then left the flute upon a stone before the tree, for I was told to never hand a thing directly to one of the fae, or they would rule you for 7 days. This was obviously the spirit's intention, since it raged and spit that I must hand it to them. But alas, I left it on the stone and refused. Now I'm resting again, and I swear I still hear giggling on the wind. Fortunately, that's as far as we got. We could have done more, but I feel like that's the vignette I wanted to make. Also, we're kind of out of time. Yeah, I just in general, I recommend the Alone Among the Stars. I recommend What Lies Beneath, or There's Something in the Depths. I forget what it's called. All the variations of this particular format, the Alone Among format, where they just set up prompts and you draw cards. I find it always works. I don't know why it works better than so many other systems, but there is something quite clever about it that really works together. Jess, a great elf voice. I assume that's the first one and not the Me Lucky Charms one it turned into. Anyways, if anybody out there actually watches this, because I realize it's the middle of summer and this is not the busy time, and you enjoyed it, if I've managed to thread that needle with anyone, the way you can let me know that is by giving the video a like. You don't have to do that, but it's sort of like a little applause that lets me know what people liked. I personally enjoyed this. That's all that really matters, is like I had fun, and it seems like GS had some good fun. But if you are interested in seeing any more stuff like this, or seeing actual fairy tales and folk tales, there's a whole playlist for that called Fireside Fairy Tales. I do that every Tuesday. That is far and away the most popular thing I do. Or you can see more of this, where I've played a whole bunch of other solo tabletop RPGs, if you want to get a feel for how they look. You can certainly do that. That's in our Varietal show playlist. And, well, what can I say other than thank you so much for the lurkers, and thank you so much for the chatters. I've been Rory. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Get out of my shop.